In the shadowed underbelly of Cleveland's sprawling urban sprawl, Anthony John Sowell's life unfurled like a map of secrets and sorrows, each twist and turn a testament to his enduring enigma. The sun cast a pale, lifeless glow over Imperial Avenue, where the buildings seemed to lean in, whispering tales of decay and forgotten dreams. Sowell, a figure cloaked in the shadows, moved with a purpose that was as enigmatic as the neighborhood itself, his every step echoing the weight of a past that clung to him like a second skin. The air was thick with the scent of neglect and the faint, haunting hum of life just beyond the veil of twilight. It was there, in the dim, eerie glow of a flickering streetlight, that Sowell paused, his gaze fixed on the dilapidated house at the end of the block, where the secrets of his existence were rumored to hide. The neighborhood watched him with wary eyes, a silent chorus of spectators who had seen too much, known too many secrets, and yet were powerless to act. As the night deepened, the streets grew silent, save for the occasional scuffle or the distant wail of a siren, and Sowell's presence became a beacon of dread, a specter that danced in the minds of those who dared to wander too close to the edge of his domain. The story of Anthony John Sowell and Imperial Avenue was one that would be whispered for generations, a tapestry of darkness woven into the very fabric of the city itself. In the shadowy heart of Cleveland, where the relentless pulse of the city met the whispering solitude of Imperial Avenue, Anthony John Sowell lived a life as enigmatic as the alleyways that wound through his neighborhood. His house, a modest two-story structure with peeling paint and broken windows, stood as a silent sentinel, its creaky door echoing the tales of the souls that had passed through its thresholds. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and the faintest hint of decay, a testament to the secrets that lay buried beneath the surface. Anthony, a man in his mid-40s with a gaunt frame and piercing blue eyes, was a figure of both fear and fascination. His days were a blur of solitude, spent in the dim light of his cluttered study, where he toiled over his peculiar hobbies and indulged in the twisted fantasy of his own creation. But as the night drew its inevitable curtain, the true nature of Anthony John Sowell's existence would emerge, shrouded in mystery and steeped in the eerie silence of Imperial Avenue. Anthony John Sowell, a solitary figure, wandered the labyrinthine streets of Imperial Avenue, where the sun fought valiantly against the encroaching twilight. His silhouette was a ghostly specter amidst the crumbling brick facades and the occasional flicker of neon signs, casting an eerie glow on the cobblestone path. The air was thick with the scent of decay and the distant echo of street musicians, their melodies a haunting reminder of life's fleeting beauty. Sowell's hands, gnarled and scarred from years of toil, clutched a tattered leather briefcase that seemed to weigh as much as his own heart. Each step he took was deliberate, each breath a silent vow to uncover the secrets hidden within the decrepit walls of the dilapidated houses that lined the avenue. As he approached the dilapidated mansion at the end of the street, a cold wind seemed to whisper the name of a forgotten past, a past that might just hold the key to unlocking the mysteries that had long since been shrouded in silence. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the city's sprawling sprawl met the edge of desolation, lay Imperial Avenue, a street that whispered tales of yesteryears and harbored secrets that would shatter the complacency of its inhabitants. Anthony John Sowell, a reclusive figure whose name was as synonymous with fear as it was with solitude, had called this decrepit stretch of pavement home for decades. The sun, a weary witness to the city's decay, dipped low over the horizon, casting long, shadowy fingers across the peeling paint of abandoned houses and the overgrown lots that bordered the avenue. In the flickering glow of streetlights, the silhouette of Sowell's modest abode emerged, a relic of a bygone era, its windows blacked out, a fortress against the encroaching night. The air was thick with the scent of decay and the distant hum of the city's heartbeat, a stark contrast to the eerie silence that enveloped the neighborhood as the world outside slowly succumbed to slumber. It was here, in the shadowed realm of Imperial Avenue, that a series of mysterious deaths would soon unravel, dragging the community into a harrowing odyssey of fear, suspicion, and the relentless pursuit of truth. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun dipped low and the city's breath grew heavy with the promise of night, there stood a house on Imperial Avenue that whispered secrets to the wind. Anthony John Sowell, a man of quiet demeanor and mysterious past, resided within its creaking walls, a man whose life was as enigmatic as the house itself. The house, an old Victorian with a front porch that creaked like the bones of a forgotten giant, stood as a sentinel against the encroaching darkness, its windows dark holes in the night, watching over a neighborhood that had seen better days. It was here, beneath the shroud of twilight, that the tale of Anthony John Sowell and his peculiar abode would begin, a story that would intertwine the lives of the innocent with the sinister, weaving a tapestry of tragedy and intrigue that would echo through the ages. In the shadowy heart of Cleveland, where the towering skyscrapers kissed the sky and the bustling streets hummed with the pulse of a city alive with dreams and despair, there lay a narrow, unassuming alley known as Imperial Avenue. It was here, amidst the cacophony of honking cars and the distant echo of laughter, that Anthony John Sowell, a reclusive figure whose name was whispered with a mix of fear and curiosity, had chosen to build his kingdom. The house at the end of the alley, a dilapidated structure with peeling paint and broken windows, was the silent sentinel guarding his secrets. It was said that those who dared to cross the threshold of Sowell's domain were never seen again, their fate a mere whisper on the wind. Yet in the dead of night, when the city slumbered and the stars above shone with an eerie glow, the house would come alive, a beacon to those who sought the truth, those who were willing to risk everything to uncover the mysteries that lay hidden within its walls. Anthony John Sowell, a man of contradictions, a sculptor of lives and a destroyer of souls, had woven an intricate tapestry of fear and fascination that would forever etch itself into the annals of Cleveland's dark history. In the shadowy underbelly of Cleveland, Ohio, where the towering skyscrapers seemed to loom over the decaying tenements like towering sentinels, there existed a desolate stretch of Imperial Avenue where the whispers of forgotten souls echoed through the broken sidewalks. Anthony John Sowell, a man whose name became synonymous with dread and horror, had chosen this desolate thoroughfare as his domain, a place where the line between the living and the departed blurred into an unsettling twilight. The houses that lined the avenue, once vibrant and filled with laughter, now stood as solemn tombstones, their windows boarded up and their doors chained shut, their decaying facades a testament to the despair that had settled upon the neighborhood. In the dead of night, when the city lay dormant, the air seemed to thicken with an ominous presence, as if the very spirit of Imperial Avenue itself was a sentient being, watching over its broken inhabitants with a cold, unyielding gaze. It was in this eerie landscape that the tale of Anthony John Sowell would unfold, a story that would chill the bones of those who dared to listen, a narrative of darkness and despair that would come to define the very soul of the city itself. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, a neighborhood where the sun baked the cobblestone streets and the air was thick with the scent of rain-soaked grass, there lived a man named Anthony John Sowell, a reclusive artist whose work spoke of a world that existed only in his mind. His home, a modest two-story house on Imperial Avenue, was a labyrinth of shadowy corners and forgotten memories, its walls adorned with his haunting paintings that whispered tales of lost souls and whispered secrets. The neighborhood, once a hub of life and laughter, had succumbed to neglect and decay, but within its dilapidated confines, Sowell's abode stood as a beacon of creativity, a sanctuary where the line between the living and the departed blurred into a tapestry of eerie beauty. Each evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, ghostly shadows across the street, the house on Imperial Avenue would awaken, its windows glowing with the soft, ethereal light of 1,000 unseen eyes watching over the world beyond its iron gates, waiting for the moment when the veil between worlds would part and the spirit of Anthony John Sowell would emerge, ready to paint another chapter in the annals of the eternal canvas that was life itself. In the hushed and sun-dappled streets of Cleveland, Ohio, where the towering silhouettes of factories and the whispering rustle of Cuyahoga River intertwined in a symphony of urban existence, there lay a house that stood as a silent sentinel of secrets and shadows. It was a modest abode, nestled on the corner of Imperial Avenue, its paint peeling in patches, the once vibrant red now a faded crimson, like the blood-stained pages of a forgotten tale. This was the house of Anthony John Sowell, a man whose name became synonymous with horror, a moniker that echoed through the city like the sound of a distant, ominous bell. The house itself, with its creaking floorboards and peeling wallpaper, seemed to hold the weight of countless silent screams, each a testament to the darkness that had taken root within its walls. It was here in this very house that the city's worst nightmare unfurled, a canvas of despair painted with strokes of evil and madness, a saga that would forever shatter the peaceful facade of Imperial Avenue. In the heart of Cleveland's decaying urban sprawl, where the echoes of history clung to the bricks like a ghostly fog, there stood a dilapidated house at 1100 Imperial Avenue, its faded signboard reading, Anthony John Sowell, in a faded script that seemed to whisper secrets to the wind. The house, once a beacon of domestic tranquility, had succumbed to neglect, its windows shattered, its roof caving in, and its once lush garden now a patchwork of overgrown weeds and discarded refuse. The neighborhood, a forgotten corner of the city, had seen better days, its streets lined with the hollowed-out shells of once vibrant homes, each a silent witness to the relentless march of time. Yet beneath the surface of this desolate landscape, a story of darkness and intrigue lay dormant, waiting to be unearthed by the curious and the brave. It was here, in the shadowy recesses of this abandoned abode, that the chilling tale of Anthony John Sowell would begin to unfold, a narrative as haunting as the specters that seemed to dance around the house's decaying foundation, a tale that would forever change the lives of those who dared to delve into its depths. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting a golden glow over the city's sprawling skyline, there lived a man named Anthony John Sowell. The year was 2009, and the streets of Imperial Avenue were a labyrinth of decay, where the scent of rust and neglect mingled with the acrid stench of decay. Sowell, a reclusive figure shrouded in mystery, resided in a decrepit house at 2207 Imperial Avenue, a place where shadows danced and whispers whispered tales of the sinister. The neighborhood had long been plagued by crime and despair, but it was Sowell's presence that lent an air of malevolence to the area, making the children's laughter sound like distant echoes of a bygone era. His home, a decrepit shell of its former grandeur, was a beacon for the destitute and the desperate, drawing them in like moths to a flame. Yet within these walls, where the paint peeled and the floors creaked, something dark and sinister was brewing, a malevolent force that would soon unleash a terror that would echo through the streets and into the hearts of those who dared to cross its path. In the hushed, sun-kissed sprawl of Cleveland's east side, where the scent of freshly baked bread mingled with the faint aroma of old brick, Anthony John Sowell's life had always been a patchwork of shadows and secrets, woven into the fabric of Imperial Avenue's storied history. The avenue itself, a grand, winding serpent that slithered through the heart of the neighborhood, was as enigmatic as the man whose name it bore. From its ornate Victorian homes that whispered tales of bygone eras to the decrepit tenements that whispered of sorrow, Imperial Avenue had seen it all: births, deaths, triumphs, and despair. It was a place where the past and present danced a delicate ballet, and where Anthony John Sowell, a man as enigmatic as the street itself, had found a place to bury his darkest secrets beneath a shroud of forgotten time. The year was 1970, and in the quiet before dawn, the sleepy neighborhood was about to be awakened by a series of events that would shatter its tranquility, etching the name Anthony John Sowell into the annals of infamy forever. In the heart of Cleveland, where the rusting steel of industry mingled with the sprawling green of suburban sprawl, there stood a house that whispered secrets to the wind. It was nestled on Imperial Avenue, a street that bore the weight of 1,000 stories, some forgotten, others etched into the very bricks and mortar. Anthony John Sowell lived there, a man whose presence was as enigmatic as the house itself. His home was a fortress of shadows, a place where the line between the living and the dead seemed to blur. It was said that at night the house would breathe, its windows glowing with an eerie luminescence, as if it were alive, watching over its inhabitants with an unwavering gaze. The neighborhood spoke in hushed tones of the mysterious happenings within, tales of whispered voices, ghostly apparitions, and unexplained disappearances. It was a place where the past and present collided, and the boundaries of reality were stretched thin, inviting those brave enough to cross over into the realm of the unknown. Anthony John Sowell, the man behind the enigmatic facade, was a man of many secrets, a man who walked the fine line between sanity and madness, and whose life was as entwined with the house on Imperial Avenue as the ivy that clung to its aging facade. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun kissed the skyline with a golden glow, there lay a street named Imperial Avenue, a place shrouded in whispers and secrets, a street that would forever be etched into the annals of urban legend. Anthony John Sowell, a reclusive figure with a shadowy past, had made this address his own, his name a chilling echo in the neighborhood's hushed corridors. The dilapidated house at 2207 Imperial Avenue stood like a relic from a forgotten era, its peeling paint and broken windows a stark contrast to the vibrant life that once danced along its streets. It was there, beneath the heavy weight of the city's relentless reign, that a dark tale began to unfold, a tale that would intertwine the lives of the lost, the forgotten, and the cursed, all bound by the eerie allure of Anthony John Sowell and the haunting enigma that was his house on Imperial Avenue. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the skyline is etched with the steel and history of the Rust Belt, there lies a street that whispers tales of mystery and dread, Anthony John Sowell Imperial Avenue. The sun cast its golden glow upon the dilapidated houses, their weathered facades a testament to the neighborhood's storied past. Here, amidst the overgrown bushes and broken sidewalks, the air hung heavy with the scent of decay, a reminder of the dark secrets that lay hidden beneath the surface. The street was named after Anthony John Sowell, a man whose life was as tumultuous as the city itself, and whose story had become an urban legend, a cautionary tale that echoed through the corridors of time. As the wind howled through the alleyways, it seemed to carry the voices of the lost and the forgotten, their cries mingling with the rustling leaves and the distant hum of the city. It was here, in this eerie landscape, that a young journalist named Emily Carter found herself drawn, determined to uncover the truth behind the chilling rumors that had plagued the neighborhood for years. Little did she know, her quest would lead her down a treacherous path, one that would challenge her beliefs and force her to confront the darkest corners of human nature. In the heart of Cleveland's decaying urban sprawl, where rusted steel and overgrown vegetation whispered tales of forgotten glory, Anthony John Sowell lived on Imperial Avenue, a street as long as a history book filled with unsolved mysteries. It was there, amidst the creaking bones of old brick houses and the haunting silence of abandoned backyards, that a peculiar event began to unfold, a chilling saga that would echo through the ages. The sun dipped low, casting an eerie glow over the dilapidated homes, and Anthony, a man with piercing blue eyes and a mind that danced with secrets too dark for the light of day, stood at the edge of his backyard, his fingers trailing the edge of the wooden fence that seemed to groan with every passing car. He had seen things others couldn't fathom, heard whispers that didn't exist, and felt the weight of a past that none could understand. That night, as the street lights flickered to life, a cold wind carried with it the scent of decay, and in the dimly lit alley behind his home, shadows began to stir, drawing him into a world where the boundaries between reality and nightmare blurred, and Anthony John Sowell's life was about to change forever. Anthony John Sowell had always felt an inexplicable pull towards Imperial Avenue, a narrow, cobblestone thoroughfare that wound its way through the heart of the old town. It was a place where the air seemed to carry whispers of the past, and the buildings stood like silent sentinels guarding ancient secrets. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an amber glow over the streets, Anthony found himself drawn to the address that had haunted his dreams for years, 23 Imperial Avenue, a place where the ordinary became extraordinary, and the extraordinary became the very essence of reality. With a deep breath, he stepped into the dimly lit alleyway, his footsteps echoing off the ancient bricks, and he knew that the night was about to unfold into something far more than he could have ever imagined. In the shadowy underbelly of Cleveland, where the neon glow of the city's nightlife gave way to the stark, unyielding darkness of the night, Anthony John Sowell watched the world from the solitary confines of his decrepit home on Imperial Avenue. The house, a once grand Victorian manor now reduced to a crumbling shell, stood like a spectral reminder of bygone days, its windows boarded up like the eyes of a monster hiding in the night. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and the faint, ghostly whispers of the souls that had fallen victim to Sowell's twisted desires. Each night, the eerie silence was shattered by the occasional sound of sirens in the distance, a cruel reminder of the law's relentless pursuit. Yet Sowell, a man with a twisted mind and a penchant for the macabre, reveled in the isolation, his twisted hobby a dark symphony played out in the bowels of the city. The house, a repository of his dark secrets, was the cornerstone of his empire, and though the outside world remained blissfully unaware, the true horror was brewing within its walls, waiting to consume the next unsuspecting soul. In the shadowed heart of Cleveland, where the relentless hum of industry mingled with the eerie silence of abandoned streets, there stood a modest yet ominous house on Imperial Avenue, a house that whispered tales of the sinister and the forgotten. Anthony John Sowell, a man whose name became synonymous with dread, had made this decrepit mansion his own, a place where the line between life and death blurred and the very air seemed to throb with malevolent intent. It was here, in the cavernous darkness of the basement, that Sowell harbored his twisted collection of relics, a macabre museum of souls lost to time, each a silent witness to the monstrous acts that had etched a grim history into the neighborhood's collective memory. The house, a spectral sentinel guarding its grim secrets, was a labyrinth of decay, its walls festering with the stench of decay and the echoes of screams long forgotten, yet somehow still resonating through the cobblestone streets that led to its foreboding threshold. As night fell, the house on Imperial Avenue became a beacon of terror, a place where the line between the living and the departed danced perilously close, inviting all who dared to venture too close to step into the abyss of a horror that had no end. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the cityscape, there lay a stretch of Imperial Avenue known to the locals as the most haunted and eerie street in town. Anthony John Sowell, a reclusive artist with a penchant for the macabre, had called this desolate thoroughfare his home for years. His dilapidated house, a sprawling mansion that seemed to creak and groan with every passing breeze, stood as a sentinel to the secrets that lay within its walls. The neighborhood whispered tales of ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena, but none were as terrifying as the one that had recently begun to unsettle the residents. It was said that on certain nights, the wind would howl with a chilling scream, and the shadows would dance in a macabre ballet, as if guided by an unseen force. The streets were often deserted, save for the occasional curious soul who dared to venture too close to the house, only to vanish without a trace. As the story of Anthony John Sowell and his mysterious mansion spread like wildfire, the city's most intrepid journalists, a pair of investigative reporters named Emily and Jake, decided to uncover the truth behind the chilling legends that had taken root in the hearts and minds of the locals. Little did they know, their quest would lead them down a dark and twisted path, one that would challenge their beliefs in the supernatural, and forced them to confront the darkest corners of their own souls. In the shadowed heart of Cleveland, where the skyline kissed the sprawling industrial sprawl, lay the desolate streets of Imperial Avenue, a place where the hum of life had long since faded into a distant echo. It was here, on the corner of 88th Street, that Anthony John Sowell, a solitary figure cloaked in the shadows of his own reclusive world, had built a labyrinth of secrets. The house at 2160 Imperial Avenue stood like a sentinel, its peeling paint and broken windows whispering tales of decay and forgotten memories. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of neglect and the musty stench of old wood, the walls lined with the haunting relics of a man who had vanished into the annals of time. It was a place where the line between reality and the supernatural blurred, where the whispers of the past seemed to echo through the empty rooms, and where the secrets that lay hidden within were as dangerous as they were compelling. Here, in the dim light of a moonless night, a young investigative journalist named Emily Carter would soon find herself entangled in a web of mystery, danger, and the chilling truth that lay buried beneath the layers of dust and decay. In the heart of Cleveland's decaying urban sprawl, where the ghosts of bygone industries whispered through the rusted metal and broken windows, Anthony John Sowell's name had become synonymous with the very darkness that shrouded the city's streets. The dilapidated house on Imperial Avenue, a decrepit shell of a home with peeling paint and a forlorn, overgrown garden, had become the focal point of a chilling mystery that would unravel the secrets hidden within its creaking walls. It was there, in the dimly lit corridors and the shadows that seemed to dance with malevolent intent, that the bodies of the missing women were discovered, their lives cut short by a killer whose identity remained shrouded in mystery. As the city's investigators delved deeper into the case, they uncovered a web of deceit and despair that would test the limits of human endurance, and in the end, it would be the haunting echoes of Imperial Avenue that would lead them to the truth. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun kissed the steel girders of the city skyline and the hum of industry was a constant backdrop, there lay a peculiar address that whispered secrets to those who dared to listen. The dilapidated and decrepit house on Imperial Avenue known as Anthony John Sowell's abode. The house stood like a beacon of decay, its peeling paint a testament to the years of neglect that had enveloped it. The once vibrant green shutters had long since succumbed to the relentless march of time, now a faded reminder of a bygone era. The front yard, a patchwork quilt of grass and dirt, bore the scars of countless footsteps that had led to the door that never seemed to close, its hinges a silent witness to the many lives that had passed through its threshold. The neighborhood, a hodgepodge of modest homes and towering trees, whispered tales of intrigue and mystery, as if the very air was charged with an electric current that could only be felt by those who dared to approach the house with a sense of curiosity and a willingness to uncover the truth hidden within its walls. And so, it was on a crisp autumn evening, as the golden leaves danced in the breeze and the shadows lengthened across the street, that a young man named Detective James Carter arrived at the address that had become the focal point of a case that would change his life forever. The house, with its creaking floorboards and eerie silence, welcomed him as if it had been waiting for him all along, and as he stepped inside, he felt the weight of the past pressing down upon him, a weight that he knew he would have to bear if he was to unravel the enigmatic tapestry that was Anthony John Sowell Imperial Avenue. In the heart of Cleveland's urban sprawl, where the cacophony of honking cars and the scent of fried chicken wafted through the air, Anthony John Sowell lived a life that was as enigmatic as the dilapidated Victorian house on Imperial Avenue that had been his sanctuary for the past 2 decades. The house, a grand yet eerie relic of a bygone era, was a labyrinth of narrow hallways and forgotten memories, its walls whispering tales of a man who had become as much a part of its very fabric as the peeling wallpaper and the musty scent that clung to every corner. The locals spoke of him in hushed tones, a reclusive artist whose paintings adorned the walls of the house, each brushstroke a testament to his troubled soul. It was said that he had once been a celebrated figure in the art world, his work commanding high prices and the admiration of the elite. But time had not been kind to him, and now he was a shadow of his former self, a man ensconced in his own isolation, his creativity having turned to a darker art form that only the most intrepid souls dared to uncover. The house on Imperial Avenue was a silent sentinel, guarding the secrets of Anthony John Sowell, a man who had become synonymous with the eerie legends that had begun to surround him, a man whose story was as much a part of the neighborhood's fabric as the cobblestone streets that led to the house's ominous front door. In the shadowy alleys of Cleveland's east side, where the sun barely pierced the smoggy horizon, Anthony John Sowell's Imperial Avenue stood as a haunting testament to urban decay. The once vibrant street, lined with proud homes and bustling businesses, had succumbed to neglect and fear, its name whispered with dread by locals. It was there, in a dilapidated Victorian house with peeling paint and broken windows, that Sowell's reign of terror began. A former Marine turned serial killer, he lured his unsuspecting victims through the deceptive beauty of Imperial Avenue, promising them solace and escape, only to deliver a fate far more sinister. The neighborhood's eerie silence, punctuated by the occasional wail of a siren, served as a stark reminder of the horror that lurked beneath the surface, a darkness that seemed to seep from the very ground itself. As the city's law enforcement grappled with the escalating number of disappearances, the residents of Imperial Avenue held their breath, wondering when the next chilling discovery would shatter the fragile peace that clung to the streets like a ghostly shroud. In the shadowed heart of Cleveland, where the skyline whispered tales of rusted dreams and the streets were etched with the scars of time, there stood a house on Imperial Avenue that was both a beacon and a curse. Anthony John Sowell's home was a labyrinth of secrets, a mausoleum for the forgotten, where the air hung heavy with the scent of decay and the whispers of the departed. The house, an ancient sentinel of a bygone era, was a patchwork of peeling paint and broken windows, its facade a mask of neglect and despair. Yet within its walls, the pulse of a darker truth beat a rhythm that only the bravest dared to uncover. As the city slumbered in its slumbering embrace, the house on Imperial Avenue held its breath, waiting for the night to reveal its most sinister secrets, secrets that would shatter the fragile peace of the neighborhood and drag the soul into the abyss of the unknown. Anthony John Sowell sat hunched over the old oak desk that dominated the corner of his tiny, cluttered study on Imperial Avenue, the dim light casting long shadows that seemed to whisper secrets in the air. The room was a testament to his obsessions, shelves groaning under the weight of dusty books and framed photos of forgotten faces. Outside, the city of Cleveland simmered with the heat of a summer that seemed to hang suspended in time, the scent of decay and possibility mingling with the scent of pine from the box of matches that lay at his fingertips. Each match struck was a tiny rebellion against the relentless march of the hours, a flicker of hope amidst the overwhelming darkness. The walls, painted in a muted gray, were adorned with the eerie glow of neon lights from the cityscape beyond, flickering like a warning sign to anyone who dared to peer too closely into the mind of the man who had made this place his sanctuary. His fingers danced across the keys of the antique typewriter, the sound of the clacking keys, a stark contrast to the silence that had settled over his mind. Each word he typed was a sentence, a paragraph, a chapter of a story that was as much a part of him as the very blood that flowed through his veins. And yet, in the vast expanse of his thoughts, the true narrative of Anthony John Sowell remained a mystery to even himself, a labyrinth of secrets waiting to be unraveled. Anthony John Sowell was a peculiar man with peculiar habits, a peculiar man who lived on the peculiar stretch of Imperial Avenue where the trees whispered secrets and the shadows danced with the moonlight. His house was an ancient relic, a sprawling, ivy-clad monstrosity that seemed to breathe with the weight of 1,000 years, its windows like dark, unblinking eyes. The neighborhood was a quaint blend of old and new, a tapestry of lives that had woven together over decades, but it was Anthony's house that held the heart of the community's folklore. The scent of damp earth and decaying leaves permeated the air around it, a constant reminder of the decay that had settled over the place like a shroud. Each night, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the house seemed to come alive, its windows casting eerie glows against the darkening sky. The children of the neighborhood whispered tales of ghostly figures seen pacing the property, of strange, haunting laughter echoing through the empty rooms, and of the eerie glow that occasionally flickered from behind the closed curtains. They spoke of Anthony as a hermit, a man who rarely left his house and whose life was shrouded in mystery, a man who might have once been a respected figure but whose presence had become as enigmatic as the house he lived in. It was in this eerie atmosphere, where the past seemed to clasp onto the present with an iron grip, that the true story of Anthony John Sowell and Imperial Avenue began to unfold, a story that would intertwine the fates of the living and the dead in ways they could never have imagined. In the shadowed heart of Cleveland, where the industrial skyline met the whispering Cuyahoga, there lay a labyrinthine stretch of brick and concrete known as Imperial Avenue. It was there, in the peculiarly named Anthony John Sowell's home, that the peculiarities of human nature and the city's darkest secrets intertwined. The house itself, a sprawling Victorian behemoth, had seen better days, its once grand facade now marred by peeling paint and broken windows. Yet despite its dilapidated exterior, it harbored a history that was as rich as it was sinister. It was a place where the line between the living and the dead blurred, where whispers of the past mingled with the present, and where the echoes of tragedy seemed to dance on the wind. Anthony John Sowell, a reclusive artist whose works were both celebrated and vilified, had chosen this forsaken corner of the city as his sanctuary. Little did the neighbors know, the house was a crucible for the macabre, a place where the ordinary gave way to the extraordinary, and where the boundaries of reality were stretched to their breaking point. It was here, in the heart of this urban enigma, that a tale of mystery, murder, and the supernatural would unfold, a story that would forever change the lives of those who dared to peer into the abyss of Imperial Avenue. Anthony John Sowell's life unfurled like a tapestry, woven with threads of tragedy and triumph, each not a story of its own on Imperial Avenue, a street that seemed to breathe with the pulse of Cleveland's soul. It was here, beneath the relentless gaze of the sun that dared to cast its amber light upon the grimy concrete, that Anthony, a man of unassuming demeanor and eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of the universe, found himself ensnared in the labyrinthine tapestry of existence. The air was thick with the scent of rain that never seemed to fully arrive, and the sounds of life, a cacophony of honking cars, chattering pigeons, and distant sirens, melded into a symphony that was as much a part of the city as the towering skyscrapers that loomed in the distance. It was on this peculiar strip of pavement that Anthony's story began, a tale of a man who would rise from the ashes of his own making, only to be consumed by the very world he had sought to conquer. The street itself, a sprawling artery that wound its way through the heart of the neighborhood, bore witness to the countless lives it had touched, the dreams that had bloomed in its shadow, and the despair that had settled like a shroud over the souls of those who walked its uneven sidewalks. And so, it was on Imperial Avenue, where the past and the future collided in a swirl of dust and possibility, that Anthony John Sowell would take his first tentative steps into the unknown, his every move dictated by the weight of his own past and the whisper of fate that beckoned him ever forward. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun dipped low behind the towering steel girders of the city's skyline, there was a street that whispered tales of the past, a thoroughfare known as Imperial Avenue. It was a street that had seen better days, its once proud brick facades now marred by the scars of time, its once bustling thoroughfare now a quiet sentinel of a bygone era. Anthony John Sowell, a man whose name would become synonymous with the street, had lived a life that mirrored the very essence of this avenue, a life that was as complex and enigmatic as the old Victorian homes that lined its length. On this particular evening, as the twilight cast a melancholic glow over the neighborhood, a chill seemed to permeate the air, a premonition of the darkness that was to come. It was in the dimly lit corner of Imperial Avenue, where the shadows seemed to dance with the flickering streetlights, that a series of events would unfold that would forever change the course of history, a story that would be etched into the annals of the city's grim past, a tale of tragedy and loss that would echo through the ages. Anthony John Sowell sat on the creaky wooden bench of his dilapidated home on Imperial Avenue, the sun setting behind the towering brick buildings that loomed like silent sentinels over the desolate street. The air was thick with the scent of rain and decay, and the hum of the city seemed to grow louder as the day waned. His eyes were fixed on the small, faded photograph of his wife and young daughter that rested on the weathered table beside him, a constant reminder of a life that had once been full of laughter and warmth. The years had taken their toll on the neighborhood and on Anthony himself, whose once vibrant spirit had been slowly drained by the weight of his past mistakes and the harsh realities of his present existence. The street lamps flickered to life, casting an eerie glow over the abandoned lot at the end of the block, where the shadows danced with an unsettling life of their own. As the night closed in, Anthony felt a gnawing emptiness in his chest, a void that seemed to stretch into infinity, and he knew that his journey down Imperial Avenue was far from over. In the shadowed heart of Cleveland, where the echoes of industry met the whispers of decay, Anthony John Sowell lived a life that was as cryptic as the weathered brick facades of Imperial Avenue. A man of many masks, Sowell's presence was both a whisper and a roar, a whisper to those who knew him well, a roar to those who only heard tales of his nocturnal wanderings. His home, a sprawling mansion at the end of Imperial Avenue, was a beacon of mystery, its windows like hollow eyes peering into the lives of passers-by. The avenue itself, a winding serpent of cobblestone, had witnessed countless secrets, yet none as dark and haunting as the one that would unfold in the days to come. As twilight crept over the horizon, casting a melancholic glow on the peeling paint of the houses, Sowell emerged from the shadows, his gait a silent promise of the eerie tales that would soon emerge from the depths of Imperial Avenue. Anthony John Sowell stood on the corner of Imperial Avenue, the cold wind whispering secrets of the city through the barren trees that lined the street like the skeletal fingers of forgotten ancestors. The sun dipped low, casting a melancholic glow over the brick facades that whispered tales of a bygone era. Sowell's eyes scanned the street, his breath visible in the crisp air, as he waited for the final moment that would change his life forever. The old Victorian house at the end of the block, with its peeling paint and broken windows, seemed to beckon him, a siren's call to the depths of the unknown. The neighborhood was a ghost town, a relic of a time when dreams were as big as the sky and shadows danced in the flickering streetlights. Sowell's fingers tightened around the handle of his worn-out briefcase, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest, as he took a deep breath and stepped into the unknown, the very air around him crackling with anticipation. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun kissed the horizon with a fiery glow, stood an ominous and forsaken stretch of Imperial Avenue, a name that echoed through the ages like a grim omen. Anthony John Sowell, a man whose very presence seemed to consume the light, ruled over this desolate landscape with an iron fist. His name was whispered in hushed tones, his home a labyrinth of shadows and secrets hidden behind the peeling paint and broken windows. On this eerie night, when the moon hung like a silver coin in the sky, the street was alive with the sound of ghostly whispers and the occasional howl that sent shivers down the spines of even the bravest souls. Amidst the haunting ambience, the neighborhood had its secrets, secrets that were as old as the city itself and as dark as the heart of the devil. It was in this eerie crucible that Anthony John Sowell's reign of terror began, and the residents of Imperial Avenue found themselves caught in a chilling web of fear, where the line between the living and the dead blurred into an indistinguishable blur, where every corner held a story that could chill the soul, and where the specter of evil loomed over the broken dreams of those who dared to tread upon the cursed avenue. Anthony John Sowell's life was a labyrinth of shadows that whispered secrets only the bravest dared to uncover. It was in the eerie quiet of Imperial Avenue, where the old brick houses whispered tales of forgotten histories, and the night sky draped itself like a shroud over the dilapidated structures, that his life began to unravel. The sun, a weary traveler, dipped below the horizon, casting a somber glow over the avenue, as if acknowledging the darkness that soon would envelop it. Anthony, a solitary figure, moved through the neighborhood like a ghost, his footsteps a mere echo of the loneliness that consumed him. The streets, once teeming with laughter and the sounds of children playing, now echoed with the eerie silence of a place forsaken by time. Each house, each tree, each corner of Imperial Avenue held a story, a tale of lives lived and dreams shattered, and Anthony, with his piercing blue eyes, seemed to carry the weight of them all on his broad shoulders. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the faint hint of a world that once was vibrant and full of life, but now was a ghostly reminder of what could have been. And so, it was in this hallowed yet cursed place that Anthony's odyssey began, a journey into the heart of darkness where the true meaning of redemption lay hidden beneath the surface, waiting for a brave soul to pluck it from the shadows and bring it to light. Anthony John Sowell lived on Imperial Avenue, a stretch of urban decay where the towering brick facades whispered secrets of bygone glory. His home was a weathered cottage with a peeling paint that matched the grime on the streets below. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a blood-red glow over the city, a cold wind carried the scent of decay and the distant echo of sirens. The neighborhood was a labyrinth of alleys and narrow sidewalks, where the shadows clung to every corner, watching and waiting. Anthony's days were a cycle of solitary walks to the corner store, whispered conversations with the local barista, and the solitary confinement of his cluttered room, filled with oddities and relics of a forgotten past. One fateful night, when the stars peeped through a smattering of clouds, something sinister stirred beneath the surface, a darkness that threatened to engulf the crumbling streets of Imperial Avenue. And in the heart of this decay, a tale of horror was about to unfold. In the heart of Cleveland's forgotten slums, where the sun seemed to struggle to pierce through the dense fog, Anthony John Sowell lived a life as solitary and shadowy as the alleyways he navigated daily. The address on Imperial Avenue, a street lined with peeling paint, and the scent of decay whispered tales of secrets long buried beneath the grime. It was in this decaying corner of the city that Sowell's enigmatic presence had taken root, like a weed in a crack in the sidewalk, stubborn and unyielding. The locals whispered about him, their voices a cacophony of fear and fascination, for no one truly knew the man behind the name. Some said he was a reclusive artist, others claimed he was a hermit with a penchant for the macabre, while still others whispered of darker things, tales of unsolved disappearances, and the occasional ghostly apparition that haunted the neighborhood. As dusk settled over Imperial Avenue, casting long, ominous shadows, Anthony John Sowell would emerge from his dilapidated abode, a solitary figure shrouded in mystery, ready to uncover the secrets that lay just beyond the veil of darkness. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the bustling streets, there lay a house at the end of Imperial Avenue that was a silent sentinel of secrets. Anthony John Sowell, a man in his 50s with a rugged face etched by the passage of time, lived there, a man whose life was as enigmatic as the house itself. The house, a modest two-story structure with peeling paint and a forlorn look, stood at the crossroads of neglect and mystery, its windows often shrouded in darkness save for the occasional flicker of a light. The neighborhood whispered tales of strange occurrences, of shadows that moved on their own, and of a man who seemed to exist in a world apart from the rest of humanity. It was in this atmosphere of intrigue and unease that a young detective named Emily Carter found herself, her keen eyes scanning the dilapidated facade for any sign of the enigma that was Anthony John Sowell. Little did she know that her investigation would unravel a web of darkness that had been woven into the very fabric of the house itself, a house that had seen more than its fair share of sorrow and secrets, and that her quest for the truth would lead her down a path fraught with danger and revelations that would change her life forever. Anthony John Sowell lived on Imperial Avenue in a house that seemed to whisper secrets of the past, its peeling paint and overgrown garden a testament to time's relentless march. The street itself was a winding ribbon of memories, each corner holding a story that echoed through the years, and the houses, like ancient sentinels, watched over the neighborhood with stoic eyes. One cold, rainy evening, as the storm raged with the fury of 1,000 demons, Sowell stepped outside into the darkness, the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves filling his lungs. The rain pelted his face, turning his vision into a kaleidoscope of colors, and he felt a chill that ran down his spine like an icy river. As he trudged through the puddles, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, as if the very street itself was alive and aware of his every move. Little did he know, the night would unravel a series of events that would change his life forever, and with each step he took, the shadows seemed to close in, promising a journey that would test the very depths of his soul. Anthony John Sowell's life unfolded like a shadowy ballet on the desolate stretch of Imperial Avenue, where the streetlights flickered like ghostly eyes in the perpetual dusk. The sun, a sullen behemoth, cast long, ominous shadows across the decrepit houses that lined the avenue, their peeling paint and broken windows whispering tales of decay and neglect. As the city slumbered, Sowell moved with a quiet urgency, his steps muffled by the thick carpet of leaves that carpeted the sidewalks. His silhouette was a ghost among the living, a man whose every breath seemed to carry the weight of his secrets. He was a creature of the night, a shadow that danced with the city's underbelly, a man who had become as much a part of the urban sprawl as the concrete and steel that cradled him. His life was a tapestry woven from the darkest threads, each thread a thread of guilt, of pain, of a darkness that seemed to consume him whole. But it was on this night, as the moon hung like a pale specter in the sky, that the fabric of his existence began to unravel, revealing the twisted soul that lay beneath the surface of the man who had once been a respected figure in the community. The streets of Imperial Avenue were his canvas, and tonight, his art would be his downfall. Anthony John Sowell had always felt a peculiar pull towards the address on Imperial Avenue, a stretch of dilapidated houses and whispering trees that seemed to hold the secrets of a bygone era. It was a place where the sun dipped low, casting long shadows that danced on the peeling paint of the old homes, and where the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and the distant hum of forgotten lives. The number 4145, etched in weathered brick, beckoned him, a siren's call that he couldn't resist. It was a place where the past and present intertwined, where every creak of the floorboards and every rustle of leaves whispered tales of joy, sorrow, and the unspoken truths of human existence. Anthony, a man in his late 40s with a gentle demeanor and a mind as curious as it was troubled, found himself standing before the creaking gates of the old mansion, his heart pounding in his chest with a mix of excitement and trepidation. He had heard the stories, the rumors that this house was no ordinary residence, but a gateway to a world hidden from the eyes of the mundane, a place where the boundaries between the living and the departed were as thin as the delicate threads of a spider's web. Little did he know, as he pushed open the gates and stepped onto the overgrown path that wound its way to the grand entrance, that the adventure he was about to embark upon would unravel the deepest mysteries of his own soul, and that the secrets of Imperial Avenue were far more dangerous and profound than he could ever have imagined. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an amber glow over the sprawling cityscape. Anthony John Sowell's life was as ordinary as the rusting street signs that adorned Imperial Avenue. It was a place where the echoes of laughter mingled with the distant wail of sirens, a neighborhood where the past clung to the brick walls like ivy to old stone. Anthony, a man in his mid-30s with a face etched by the relentless march of time, was a figure shrouded in mystery, a man whose existence was as enigmatic as the fog that often crept in through the narrow streets. He lived in a modest home, a quaint abode that seemed to whisper secrets to anyone who dared to listen, its windows perpetually dark, as if holding back the shadows of a hidden truth. The neighborhood, a patchwork quilt of life, was a mosaic of diversity, where the rich tapestry of human experience was woven into the very fabric of the community. Yet beneath the surface, there was an undercurrent of unease, a sense that something was amiss, that the calm facade of Imperial Avenue was merely a veil for darker forces lurking in the shadows. Little did the townsfolk know that Anthony John Sowell was about to unravel the tapestry of their lives, dragging them into a world where the boundaries between reality and fantasy blurred, and the line between innocence and evil became shockingly thin. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun kissed the steel towers and the rusted bridges whispered tales of bygone eras, there lay a dilapidated house on Imperial Avenue, a street that had seen better days. The house, a haunting relic of a forgotten past, stood as a sentinel against the encroaching urban decay. Its INT Chinese letter, 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 Anthony John Sowell, a man whose name would become synonymous with dread, lived there. A shadowy figure whose existence was as enigmatic as the house itself. The neighborhood, once a vibrant tapestry of dreams and aspirations, had succumbed to the siren call of neglect, its streets now echoing with the hollow laughter of forgotten souls. As dusk settled over the city, casting long, eerie shadows, the house on Imperial Avenue seemed to beckon those who dared to venture near, promising secrets too dark to be understood and tales too terrifying to be told. But for Anthony John Sowell, the house was not just a home. It was a mausoleum, a sanctuary for the unspoken, where the line between life and death blurred, and the living and the dead danced a macabre waltz under the watchful eyes of the stars. In the heart of Cleveland's bustling urban sprawl, where the relentless pulse of life beats in every concrete stride, there lies a quiet, unassuming stretch of Imperial Avenue, where the mundane masks a sinister truth. Anthony John Sowell, a man whose name would soon become synonymous with dread, had chosen this seemingly ordinary street as his canvas, a canvas that would be etched with the most harrowing of stories. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, the neighborhood fell into a tranquil slumber, unaware of the malevolent presence that lurked within the shadows. It was in one of these darkened homes, nestled between the hum of traffic and the whispers of forgotten memories, that Anthony John Sowell began his twisted dance with death, a dance that would leave an indelible mark on the very soul of the city. In the shadowed heart of Cleveland, where the towering skyscrapers kissed the sky with their cold, unyielding steel, there lay a dilapidated house on Imperial Avenue, a house that whispered secrets of a man who was both a savior and a monster. Anthony John Sowell, a man whose name was etched into the very fabric of the neighborhood, had built this decrepit mansion with his own hands, a sanctuary where the destitute and the desperate found refuge. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a crimson glow over the decaying streets, the house transformed into a sinister labyrinth, a place where the line between benevolence and madness blurred into an indistinguishable mess. It was within these walls that the stories of Sowell's reign of terror began to unfold, tales of souls torn asunder, of bodies left to rot in the dark, and of a man whose legacy was as dark as the alleyways he haunted. Yet amidst the darkness, there was a glimmer of light, for within those walls, amidst the despair and the desolation, a hero was born, a man destined to unravel the mysteries of Sowell's twisted past and bring an end to the terror that had gripped the neighborhood for far too long. In the eerie stillness of Cleveland's Imperial Avenue, the sun dipped low, casting long, ghostly shadows that seemed to whisper secrets to the old, abandoned houses that lined the street. Anthony John Sowell, a reclusive artist with a penchant for the macabre, had chosen this forsaken thoroughfare as his canvas, transforming the decrepit structures into hauntingly beautiful memorials to the forgotten. As twilight enveloped the neighborhood, a chill breeze carried the scent of decay and the faint, eerie laughter of unseen spirits, stirring the dust that clung to the weathered brick facades. It was within this eerie tableau that Sowell's greatest creation was about to unfold, a tale woven from the threads of fear, obsession, and the unrelenting pull of the dark side of human nature. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an amber glow over the cityscape, lay a desolate stretch of Imperial Avenue, a once vibrant thoroughfare now shrouded in mystery and dread. Anthony John Sowell, a reclusive figure whose name had become synonymous with fear, called this desolate stretch home. The houses, once filled with laughter and life, now stood silent sentinels, their windows boarded up, their lawns overgrown with weeds. The air was thick with the scent of decay, a constant reminder of the unspeakable crimes that had taken place within these forsaken walls. As the twilight deepened, the shadows seemed to stretch and grow, whispering tales of the past that no one dared to hear. It was here, in the eerie silence of Imperial Avenue, that the line between the living and the dead blurred, and the true story of Anthony John Sowell began to unfold, a tale of madness, murder, and the relentless pursuit of the truth. Anthony John Sowell lived on Imperial Avenue, a street that seemed to pulse with the secrets of 100 lives, each story as intricate and layered as the towering trees that lined its ancient pathways. The avenue was a labyrinth of memories, where the echoes of laughter mingled with the sobs of sorrow, where the whispers of the past danced with the whispers of the future. It was on this street, beneath the watchful gaze of the old, weathered houses that stood like sentinels, that Anthony, a man of few words and even fewer friends, discovered a world of his own making. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves began their fiery descent, he stumbled upon a peculiar object, half buried in the earth, a rusted key that seemed to beckon him into the unknown. Little did he know, this simple discovery would unravel a mystery that had been hidden for decades, a mystery that would change his life forever, and in the process, reveal the true secrets of Imperial Avenue. In the shadowy embrace of Cleveland's urban sprawl, where the sun seemed to cower behind a perpetual veil of smog and decay, there lay a dilapidated house on Imperial Avenue that whispered secrets to the wind. Anthony John Sowell, a reclusive figure whose name became synonymous with dread, had called this place home. The once grand Victorian mansion, now a skeleton of its former glory, stood like a specter in the night, its windows like hollow eyes that watched over the neighborhood with a silent vigil. The air around it was thick with the scent of decay and the eerie silence that only a house that had witnessed the unspeakable could exude. It was a place where the line between the living and the dead blurred, where shadows danced in the corners and whispers echoed through the empty halls. The locals spoke of strange occurrences, of voices heard in the dead of night and shadows that moved on their own. Yet, it was not the supernatural that truly terrified them, but the knowledge that within those walls, something had been bred and nurtured, something that would one day claim more lives than any ghost could ever hope to. The tale of Anthony John Sowell and his Imperial Avenue abode was one that would be whispered for generations, a cautionary tale of the darkness that lurks in the heart of every man, and the monsters that are sometimes born from the darkest corners of the human soul. Anthony John Sowell lived on Imperial Avenue, a narrow, cobbled street that whispered secrets of a bygone era. its cobblestones worn smooth by the countless feet of those who had passed beneath them for generations. The houses along the avenue, a hodgepodge of Victorian elegance and modest craftsmanship, stood as silent sentinels, their weathered facades adorned with ivy that clung like tendrils of memory to the past. At the end of the street, the towering figure of the Imperial Avenue Library dominated the skyline, its stone walls etched with the names of countless readers who had sought solace and knowledge within its hallowed halls. Anthony, with his piercing blue eyes and tousled hair, had always felt an inexplicable connection to this place, as if the very air of Imperial Avenue were woven with the threads of his own existence, a tapestry that unfurled with each passing day, revealing the hidden patterns of his destiny. As he wandered through the labyrinth of the avenue, the scent of blooming jasmine mingled with the distant hum of city life, a delicate symphony that danced on the tips of his senses. The world outside the confines of Imperial Avenue seemed a distant and chaotic place, while here, on this narrow strip of time, he found a sense of belonging, a place where his heart and mind could roam freely. Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. And so, Anthony John Sowell, with his unyielding curiosity and a thirst for understanding, embarked on a journey that would lead him through the mysteries of the past and the enigmas of the future, all from the hallowed confines of Imperial Avenue. In the shadowed alleys of Cleveland, where the city's grandeur gave way to a hushed, decrepit silence, there lived a man known only as Anthony John Sowell. It was on Imperial Avenue, a street that whispered tales of bygone eras, where the towering oak trees seemed to whisper secrets to the wind, that Sowell carved out his enigmatic existence. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the distant hum of a city struggling to reclaim its former glory. In this forgotten corner of the metropolis, Sowell's name was spoken in hushed tones, a moniker that evoked images of shadowy figures and unsolved mysteries. As twilight descended, casting a melancholic glow over the neighborhood, the once bustling avenue lay dormant, its streets bathed in the soft, eerie light of the setting sun. Here, amidst the silence and the solitude, Sowell's peculiar life unfolded, a tapestry of intrigue and sorrow, woven from the threads of a world that had long forgotten its former inhabitants. It was in this place, where the past and the present intertwined in a haunting dance, that the legend of Anthony John Sowell would forever be etched into the annals of local lore. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the cityscape, there lay a stretch of dilapidated homes on Imperial Avenue that whispered tales of a bygone era. Anthony John Sowell, a reclusive figure whose name was as shrouded in mystery as the overgrown bushes that lined the street, had become an enigma to the neighborhood. His weathered house, a relic of a time when the avenue was a bustling hub of activity, now stood as a sentinel, watching over the decay that had slowly crept in. It was said that the old house was cursed, its dark windows reflecting the shadows of the past, and those who dared to venture inside would never return the same. Yet, as night fell and the moonlight began to filter through the tattered curtains, a peculiar glow emanated from within, drawing curious onlookers and raising questions about the enigmatic figure who had taken refuge in the forgotten corner of Imperial Avenue. Anthony John Sowell was a man who seemed to live in a world of his own, a solitary figure who had long since drifted away from the bustling streets of Cleveland, Ohio. Nestled in the shadowy recesses of Imperial Avenue, a desolate thoroughfare that whispered tales of forgotten dreams and lingering shadows, Sowell's modest home was a testament to his enigmatic existence. It was a place where the sun barely touched, where the chill of winter seemed to seep through the walls, and where the faintest of whispers carried the weight of 1,000 secrets. The neighborhood itself was a labyrinth of dilapidated houses and overgrown gardens, a forgotten corner of the city where the lines between reality and the supernatural blurred, and where the air was thick with the scent of decay and the echo of forgotten lives. Sowell, with his wild, untamed hair and piercing blue eyes, moved with a silent grace that seemed to defy the very nature of his surroundings, his presence a stark contrast to the decrepit facade of his home. It was in this place, shrouded in mystery and steeped in the eerie calm of Imperial Avenue, that the story of Anthony John Sowell would unfold, a tale of dark secrets and hidden truths that would forever change the lives of those who dared to venture into his shadowed realm. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun dipped below the horizon casting a golden glow upon the cobblestone streets, there lived a man named Anthony John Sowell, a man whose life was as mysterious as the shadowy alleyways of Imperial Avenue. It was there, on this winding thoroughfare, that Sowell's story began to unfold in ways that would shock the city and echo through the annals of history. A solitary figure, he toiled away in his modest abode, a house that seemed to whisper secrets of a bygone era, its peeling paint and broken windows testifying to the passage of time. The neighborhood, once bustling with the laughter of children and the hum of life, had long since fallen silent, its residents replaced by the haunting echoes of Sowell's existence. Yet, it was in this desolate landscape that the true horror began to brew, as the streets of Imperial Avenue became the stage for a series of macabre events that would shatter the tranquility of the city and unravel the fabric of reality itself. The whispers of the wind carried tales of the eerie, the grotesque, and the inexplicable, all centered around the enigmatic figure of Anthony John Sowell, whose name would forever be synonymous with the chilling specter that haunted the darkest corners of Imperial Avenue. In the heart of Cleveland, where the skyline kissed the gray Ohio sky and the streets whispered tales of yesteryears, there lay a peculiar address, 1123 Imperial Avenue, where the past and present collided in a symphony of secrets and shadows. Anthony John Sowell, a man whose name had become synonymous with fear, had chosen this dilapidated mansion as his domain, a place where the creaking floorboards echoed the echoes of his dark past, and the peeling wallpaper concealed the scars of his twisted mind. It was here, in the shadowy recesses of this decrepit home, that Sowell had created a hellish haven for his macabre pursuits, ensnaring his unsuspecting neighbors in a web of deceit and despair. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows across the street, the neighborhood grew increasingly wary, for whispers of the monstrous occurred with chilling regularity, and the scent of decay lingered in the air, a constant reminder of the sinister presence that lurked within the walls of 1123 Imperial Avenue. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the industrial skyline meets the sprawling expanse of the Cuyahoga River, there lay an unassuming two-story house on Imperial Avenue, a street whose name seemed to hold a silent promise of grandeur beneath its modest facades. Anthony John Sowell, a middle-aged man with a gentle demeanor and a penchant for solitude, lived there, his life a quiet tapestry woven from the threads of routine and quiet contemplation. But on that fateful autumn evening, when the leaves began their fiery dance to the ground, the calm of Imperial Avenue would be shattered by a storm of secrets, and the house on the corner would become the focal point of a mystery that would consume the city for years to come. It was a place where the line between the living and the dead blurred, where the whispers of the past mingled with the echoes of the future, and where a single act of cruelty would unravel the lives of those who dared to cross its threshold. Anthony John Sowell, with his unassuming presence, would soon become the enigma at the center of a tale that would leave an indelible mark on the collective psyche of a city and challenge the very notion of what it meant to be human. Anthony John Sowell sat in the dimly lit apartment on Imperial Avenue, the hum of the city a distant echo in the hollows of his ears. The room was a relic from a bygone era, its walls adorned with faded wallpaper, and the faint scent of mildew that seemed to cling to the air like a specter of the past. The windows were cracked, allowing a chilling breeze to sweep through, brushing against the frayed curtains that flapped lazily in the unseen draft. The old oak desk stood in the corner, its surface cluttered with yellowed papers and half-eaten sandwiches, while a lone lamp flickered feebly, casting an eerie glow on the shadows that danced along the walls. Outside, the world moved on, oblivious to the solitude that clung to Sowell like a second skin, each passing second a reminder of the life he had abandoned in pursuit of the shadows that haunted his every thought. He had been there for weeks, his existence a silent vigil, the only sound the occasional rustle of pages as he pored over old case files and police reports, each document a key to unlocking the mysteries that had ensnared him. The name Imperial Avenue had become synonymous with a haunting presence, a specter of his past that refused to be exorcised, a reminder of the choices he had made and the consequences that followed. And so, in the twilight of his days, Sowell found himself ensconced in the labyrinthine alleys of his own mind, a prisoner to the ghost of Imperial Avenue, where the secrets of his life were as entwined with the history of the neighborhood as the vines that crept up the sides of abandoned houses, slowly chipping away at the foundations of reality. Anthony John Sowell lived in a sprawling, dilapidated mansion on Imperial Avenue, a street where the shadows seemed to whisper secrets of the forgotten. The house itself was a testament to bygone eras, its peeling paint and sagging roof a stark contrast to the affluent neighborhood it once belonged. Each night, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the mansion's grand windows flickered with eerie light, casting ghostly reflections upon the surrounding trees. The scent of mildew and decay wafted through the air, mingling with the distant hum of city life. It was here, in this Gothic haven of silence and solitude, that Anthony had become the master of a hidden world, a world where the boundaries between reality and the supernatural blurred, and where the line between good and evil danced upon the precipice of chaos. In the heart of Cleveland's east side, where the sun dipped low and cast long shadows over the dilapidated houses, Anthony John Sowell, a reclusive artist known only by the mysterious moniker, the Imperial Avenue Illustrator, toiled away in his dimly lit studio. It was a place of stark contrast, for the outside world was a cacophony of urban decay, yet within these walls, creativity bloomed like a rare flower amidst the ruins. The air was thick with the scent of turpentine and the soft hum of the old gramophone, its worn record spinning tales of a bygone era. Every canvas was a testament to Sowell's talent, his fingers dancing across the paintbrushes with a deft precision that spoke of years of solitude and endless practice. His subjects were the people of Imperial Avenue, their faces etched with the stories of life's hardships and triumphs, each portrait a silent poem in the language of art. Yet, even as his reputation grew, a sense of unease lingered in the air, for there was something deeply unsettling about the way he captured the essence of his subjects, as if he saw beyond the surface, into the very soul of the city. As night enveloped the street, the ghostly outlines of Sowell's creations whispered secrets that no one else could hear, and it was this enigmatic allure that drew curious souls from far and wide, eager to uncover the truth behind the enigmatic artist and his hauntingly beautiful masterpieces. Anthony John Sowell sat on the faded velvet couch, his gaze piercing through the dense fog that clung to Imperial Avenue like a ghostly shroud. The once bustling thoroughfare was now a shadow of its former self, its neon signs dim and its brick facades crumbling. But to Sowell, it was the heartbeat of a city long past its prime. He was a man of many secrets, his life as intricate as the labyrinthine streets that wound through his neighborhood. As he ran a calloused finger over the jagged edges of a photo frame, the image of his young, vibrant wife filled his mind, her eyes alight with love and laughter, now long buried beneath layers of sorrow and mystery. It was in this desolate corner of the city that a string of unsolved murders had begun, and as the detective assigned to the case, Sowell knew that his own life was inextricably linked to the macabre events that unfolded beneath the watchful eyes of the crumbling tenements and the silent trees that lined the street. The rain pelted the windows, turning the night into a symphony of dripping water and the occasional howl of a distant siren, a stark reminder that even in the heart of darkness, the truth could be found if one dared to look for it. In the shadowed heart of Cleveland, where the sun's rays barely dared to penetrate the dense fog that clung to the streets like a ghostly shroud, Anthony John Sowell lived on Imperial Avenue, a street where the past seemed to whisper secrets through the rusted iron gates and peeling paint. The house itself, a sprawling, dilapidated structure that had seen better days, stood as a testament to time's relentless march, its windows like hollow eyes that watched over the neighborhood with a silent, eerie vigil. The air was thick with the scent of decay and the faint, unsettling hum of unseen creatures, while the street itself was a labyrinth of forgotten memories and unspoken truths. It was here, in this forsaken corner of the city, that Anthony John Sowell, a man whose name had become synonymous with fear and despair, had built a kingdom of shadows, a place where the line between life and death blurred, and where the echoes of screams could be heard long after the night had fallen. In the shadowed heart of Cleveland's east side, where the sun's golden rays barely pierced the dense fog that hung like a shroud, there lay a stretch of dilapidated streets where the whispers of decay danced through the air like the flapping of ancient wings. It was there, on the desolate stretch of Imperial Avenue, that the name Anthony John Sowell became synonymous with dread and mystery. A name that echoed through the hushed corridors of the local police station. A name that sent shivers down the spines of the neighborhood's weary inhabitants. The house at 2169 Imperial Avenue, a decrepit structure with peeling paint and broken windows, stood as a silent sentinel, its darkened windows watching over the desolate landscape with a gaze that seemed to bore into the very soul of those who dared to venture too close. It was a place where the line between the living and the dead blurred, where the whispers of the past mingled with the cries of the lost, and where the chilling truth about Anthony John Sowell's reign of terror began to unfold, a tale of murder and madness that would shatter the fragile peace of a city already on the brink of despair. In the sprawling urban expanse of Cleveland, Ohio, where the towering steel behemoths of the industrial age clung to the skyline like ancient sentinels, there lurked a sinister enigma that had left an indelible mark on the city's dark history. Anthony John Sowell, a man whose name would forever be synonymous with horror and dread, resided at the end of a desolate stretch of Imperial Avenue, a street that had once been a vibrant thoroughfare of bustling life, but had now succumbed to the decay of neglect and solitude. It was there, behind the tattered curtains of a decrepit house, that the chilling truth of Sowell's existence began to unfold, a tale of obsession, depravity, and the macabre allure of the forbidden. As the twilight shadows stretched across the concrete, casting eerie silhouettes against the drab walls, the neighborhood whispered tales of a man who was said to be consumed by an insatiable thirst for human flesh, and whose twisted desires had transformed the once tranquil street into a living nightmare. Little did the residents know that the true horror was yet to be revealed, for the night would soon hold its darkest secret, a revelation that would shatter the fragile facade of their seemingly ordinary lives and plunge them into the depths of an unimaginable terror. Anthony John Sowell lived on Imperial Avenue, a street of grand old homes with secrets whispered in the hush of ancient trees, and on this peculiar afternoon, the neighborhood buzzed with an air of unease, as if the very spirit of the place itself were stirring. His home, a majestic Victorian with a sagging porch and a weathered sign bearing his name, seemed to loom over the street like a tombstone, its ivy-covered walls whispering tales of yesteryears. As twilight descended, casting a melancholic glow on the cobblestone pathway, the faint scent of honeysuckle mingled with the earthy aroma of decaying leaves, creating an atmosphere that was both serene and foreboding. Inside, Anthony, a man in his mid-50s with a face etched with the lines of his struggles and the wear of time, moved through the dimly lit house with a sense of purpose, his every step echoing in the cavernous halls. The walls, adorned with faded portraits of ancestors long gone, seemed to watch him, their eyes dull and knowing. The house, an imposing behemoth of history, seemed to hold secrets of its own, secrets that whispered to Anthony in the quiet moments of solitude, urging him to uncover the truth that lay buried beneath the layers of time. Little did he know, as the evening stars began to twinkle above, that this peculiar afternoon would unravel a tale of dark magic and forgotten lore, dragging Anthony into a labyrinth of shadows that would change his life forever. Anthony John Sowell's name echoed like a ghostly whisper through the dilapidated streets of Imperial Avenue, a forgotten district where the past clung to the crumbling facades like cobwebs. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a crimson glow over the rundown row houses, each one a silent witness to the city's decline. Sowell, a man with a face as rugged as the landscape around him, had become the subject of whispered fears and whispered curses. It was said that his hands were as cold as the winter winds that swept through the alleyways, and that his eyes held secrets too dark for the human soul to bear. Yet in the dim light of an abandoned diner on the corner of Imperial and Maple, a young journalist named Emily found herself drawn to the man like a moth to flame, determined to unravel the mystery that had woven itself into the very fabric of this forsaken neighborhood. The door creaked open, and the chill of the night crept in, but Emily stood resolute, her heart pounding with a rhythm that matched the ominous silence that enveloped the street. She took a deep breath, her eyes scanning the shadows, searching for the enigma that was Anthony John Sowell. In the shadowed heart of Cleveland, where the city's sprawling arms stretch out like the fingers of a forgotten giant, there lay a house on Imperial Avenue that whispered tales of the eerie and the unknown. Anthony John Sowell's home, a sprawling two-story monstrosity that stood like a sentinel at the end of a desolate street, had become the stuff of urban legend. It was here, amidst the towering factories and the whispers of decay, that a string of unsolved murders had begun, each more chilling than the last, sowing seeds of dread into the hearts of the locals. The neighborhood had been a bustling hub of activity before the murders, a place where children played and families gathered, but now it was a ghost town, the house's silent sentinels guarding the secrets of a twisted mind. As night fell, the shadows seemed to stretch further, and the moon, a pale ghost in the sky, cast long, sinister fingers across the landscape. It was here in this haunted house on Imperial Avenue that the tale of Anthony John Sowell would unfold, a story of darkness, despair, and the relentless pursuit of justice that would shatter the souls of all who dared to venture too close. In the heart of Cleveland's industrial decay, where the rusted steel of old factories whispered tales of yesteryear, there lay an unassuming block of brick homes on Imperial Avenue. Among these, a peculiar house stood out, its peeling paint and faded signboard reading Anthony John Sowell in faded, yet bold letters. This was not just any house. It was a beacon of secrets, a crucible of mystery, where shadows danced with the wind and the air thrummed with a strange, electric tension. At night, the house seemed to breathe, its windows glowing with an eerie luminescence that beckoned the curious and the brave to uncover its dark past. But for those who dared to cross the threshold, they would find themselves entangled in a web of tragedy, greed, and the macabre. For Anthony John Sowell's legacy was one written in the blood of the innocent, and the true horror of Imperial Avenue was yet to unfold. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun dipped low behind the towering steel behemoths of the city's industrial past, there stood a dilapidated Victorian mansion on Imperial Avenue, its once proud facade now a testament to time's relentless march. The house, known to the locals as Anthony John Sowell's abode, harbored secrets as dark as the shadows that clung to its peeling paint. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of decay and the faint, unsettling hum of unseen presences. Anthony John Sowell, a reclusive artist whose works were lauded and shunned in equal measure, had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a labyrinth of half-finished paintings and cryptic messages that hinted at a life consumed by obsession and a twisted quest for immortality. As the moon climbed higher, casting an eerie glow on the overgrown garden, whispers of the mansion's macabre history began to weave through the neighborhood, drawing the curiosity of the brave and the foolhardy alike, all eager to uncover the truth hidden within the walls of this haunted house of horrors. In the heart of Cleveland, Ohio, where the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the gritty streets, there lived a man named Anthony John Sowell. The address on his driver's license was simple, yet it held a haunting weight: 1100 Imperial Avenue. It was a place that whispered tales of secrets long buried, where the past clung to the walls like ivy, and the present was a shadowy specter that danced just beyond the veil of night. The house itself was a relic of a bygone era, a sprawling two-story Victorian with peeling paint and broken windows, its once grand facade now a testament to the neighborhood's descent into disrepair. Yet within its decaying shell, something extraordinary was unfolding, a story that would shatter the peace of the city and leave an indelible mark on the souls of those who dared to uncover its dark secrets. As the moon rose, casting a pale light on the dilapidated facade, Anthony John Sowell stood at the threshold, his eyes reflecting the eerie glow, ready to confront the demons that had taken root in the shadows of his life. In the heart of Cleveland's east side, where the sun dipped low and the shadows crept across the gritty streets, Anthony John Sowell lived in a modest brick bungalow on Imperial Avenue. The neighborhood whispered tales of secrets hidden in plain sight, and the scent of decay lingered in the air like a ghostly fog. Anthony was a man of many contradictions, a gentle giant with a towering frame and a quiet demeanor that belied the darkness that brewed within. His life was a tapestry of solitude and secrets, woven with threads of tragedy and intrigue. One cold winter night, a body was found in the overgrown lot behind his house, and the city was thrown into turmoil. As the investigation unfolded, Anthony's life took a chilling turn, revealing a web of lies and a past shrouded in mystery. The streets of Imperial Avenue became a stage for a drama that would captivate and terrify the city, and Anthony John Sowell would become the enigmatic protagonist whose fate would forever be entwined with the eerie charm of his cursed address. In the shadowy underbelly of Cleveland, Ohio, where the relentless winter wind howled through the decaying tenements, there lived a man named Anthony John Sowell, whose name was whispered in hushed tones, a specter of fear that danced on the lips of the locals. It was on the desolate stretch of Imperial Avenue, a thoroughfare lined with abandoned factories and forgotten dreams, that Sowell had carved out his own twisted empire, a domain where the line between the living and the dead blurred into a macabre twilight. The neighborhood, once vibrant with the laughter of children and the clatter of industry, now lay in eerie silence, save for the occasional screech of tires as they skidded to a halt at the sight of the decrepit house at the end of the street, the one with the boarded-up windows and the peeling paint that whispered tales of horror to anyone who dared to approach. It was here, in this desolate sanctuary, that Sowell had turned the dark art of necromancy into a macabre business, trading the souls of the departed for a price that only the desperate and the damned could afford. And as the city slowly succumbed to the encroaching darkness, it was Anthony John Sowell who ruled with an iron fist, his reign of terror stretching further each day, his name etched into the very fabric of the night as the citizens of Cleveland trembled in the face of the unknown. Anthony John Sowell sat hunched over his desk on Imperial Avenue, the dim streetlight casting eerie shadows on the peeling paint of the Victorian house that served as his sanctuary. His fingers danced across the keyboard, a rhythm that mirrored the relentless ticking of the antique clock on the wall, a relic from a bygone era that seemed to mock the modernity of his digital life. The air was thick with the scent of old books and the faint hint of something burning, a reminder of the secret experiments he conducted in the shadowy corners of his mind. Outside, the city hummed with the pulse of life, a symphony of honking cars and distant laughter. Yet within these four walls, he was a hermit, a man who had traded the warmth of human connection for the cold comfort of solitude. His mind was a labyrinth of thoughts, each thread a clue to the mysteries he sought to unravel, and the answers he yearned to find. As he delved deeper into the digital depths of his research, he felt the weight of his past pressing down upon him, the echoes of his troubled youth whispering warnings of the dangers that lurked just beyond the veil of his reality. But Anthony John Sowell was no stranger to danger, for he had chosen this path, this solitary journey, in pursuit of knowledge and the truth that he believed lay hidden in the very fabric of the universe. In the shadowed alleys of Cleveland, Ohio, where the city's sprawling skyline met the sprawling darkness, there existed a peculiar enigma wrapped in a mystery shrouded in the eerie stillness of night. It was here, on the cobbled streets of Imperial Avenue, that the enigmatic Anthony John Sowell, a man of many secrets and fewer friends, called his grimy abode home. The air was thick with the scent of decay and the whispers of forgotten tales, for the houses along Imperial Avenue were not merely houses, but guardians of ancient secrets, their windows etched with the ghostly outlines of forgotten souls. The moon hung low, casting a spectral glow over the neighborhood, as if it too was a silent witness to the dark underbelly of this desolate avenue. It was within the walls of Sowell's decrepit house, a place where the past and present collided with chilling regularity, that the story of a man whose life was as enigmatic as the neighborhood he inhabited would begin to unravel, revealing a tapestry of tragedy, deceit, and the most heinous of crimes that would echo through the annals of history and the deepest recesses of the human psyche. Anthony John Sowell lived on Imperial Avenue, a winding street that seemed to stretch on forever, its ancient brick houses whispering secrets of the past to those who dared to listen. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the neighborhood, but it couldn't illuminate the shadows that lurked beneath the streetlights. It was a place where time stood still, a haven for those who sought refuge from the chaos of the city, and a nightmare for those who dared to venture too close to the dark underbelly of human nature. Anthony, a reclusive artist, spent his days painting the forgotten souls of Imperial Avenue, capturing their pain and joy on canvas. Yet even he couldn't escape the creeping suspicion that something sinister was hiding in plain sight. As the night grew colder, the neighborhood grew quieter, and the streets seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the moment when the veil between worlds would part and the truth would surface. In the heart of Cleveland's east side, where the sun dipped low and cast long shadows along Imperial Avenue, lived Anthony John Sowell, a man whose life was as intricate as the cobblestone streets that wound through his neighborhood. It was a place where the past and present collided, where the whispers of old factories mingled with the hum of modern life, and where the secrets of the city were whispered in the wind. Anthony, a reclusive artist with a penchant for the macabre, spent his days painting portraits of the forgotten souls who roamed these streets, capturing their stories in vivid hues and dark strokes. His home, a sprawling Victorian mansion that stood like a beacon of decay, was a sanctuary for his peculiar obsessions. It was within these walls that he found solace, crafting intricate sculptures from human bones and adorning his walls with the haunting relics of a bygone era. As night fell, the neighborhood would fall into a deep slumber, unaware of the sinister activities that unfolded within Sowell's domain. But little did they know, the man who called Imperial Avenue home was about to unleash a terror that would forever change the fate of those who dared to cross his path. In the shadowed heart of Cleveland, where the industrial might of the Rust Belt met the whispered secrets of the urban underbelly, there stood a desolate stretch of Imperial Avenue, a forgotten thoroughfare that whispered tales of yesteryear's grandeur and the stark reality of today's decay. Anthony John Sowell, a man whose name had become synonymous with the very essence of this desolate avenue, had built a kingdom of darkness within the crumbling walls of his decrepit home, a kingdom that was as mysterious as it was sinister. The streets around him were silent sentinels, guarding the secrets of the past, while the city's indifferent eyes overlooked the macabre happenings within. The air was thick with the scent of decay, a constant reminder of the sinister undercurrent that ran beneath the surface of Imperial Avenue. It was here, in the depths of this desolate expanse, that the line between life and death blurred, and the living and the dead danced a macabre waltz under the watchful gaze of the city's forgotten souls. Anthony John Sowell had always been a man of many secrets, his name etched into the fabric of Imperial Avenue like a ghostly whisper, a specter of shadows that danced along the cobblestone paths. It was on this eerie stretch of urban sprawl that Sowell's enigmatic life unraveled, a labyrinth of dark alleyways and forgotten dreams where the night held no mercy for those who dared to venture too close. As twilight descended, casting an otherworldly glow on the weathered facades of crumbling brick homes, Sowell's silhouette emerged from the shadows, a figure cloaked in mystery and a shroud of malice. The streets of Imperial Avenue buzzed with whispers of his past, a tapestry of tragedy and triumph, of love and loss, woven into the very essence of this forsaken neighborhood. Yet beneath the surface of this grim facade, a fire flickered within Sowell's soul, a burning desire to be remembered, to leave an indelible mark on the world, even if it meant shrouding his existence in layers of deceit and despair. And so, as the city slumbered, Anthony John Sowell, the enigma of Imperial Avenue, began his nightly ritual, a dance with the darkness that would forever etch his name into the annals of infamy. Anthony John Sowell lived on the desolate stretch of Imperial Avenue, where the creaking boards of his decrepit house whispered tales of forgotten souls and long-buried secrets. The sun had long since abandoned the weary streets, leaving behind a cold, relentless fog that clung to the windows like a ghostly shroud. Sowell, a reclusive artist with a penchant for the grotesque, spent his days toiling in his dimly lit studio, painting haunting portraits of women with hollow eyes and twisted smiles. His neighbors whispered about the eerie sounds that emanated from his home, the occasional howls and the soft, sorrowful moans that seemed to echo through the night. As the world outside grew more chaotic, Sowell found solace in his art, creating sculptures of twisted limbs and malformed creatures that were as much a reflection of his own psyche as they were a commentary on the society that seemed to slowly unravel around him. Little did they know that the true horror of Imperial Avenue lay hidden beneath the surface, waiting to claim its next victim, and that Sowell's dark creations were merely the prologue to a tale that would shatter the very fabric of reality. In the shadowy depths of Cleveland's sprawling metropolis, a name whispered in hushed tones among the city's most clandestine denizens: Anthony John Sowell. A man whose life was as enigmatic as it was dark, Sowell resided on the notorious Imperial Avenue, a street where the line between the ordinary and the sinister blurred into a terrifyingly indistinguishable amalgam. It was here, amidst the decaying tenements and the cacophony of urban decay, that Sowell's reign of terror began to unfurl, shrouded in the mists of night and the whispers of the lost and the forsaken. As the moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow upon the dilapidated buildings, a young woman named Emily stumbled upon a grim discovery that would shatter the complacency of her small-town existence, drawing her into a world where the monsters were not just in the shadows, but lurking within the very fabric of society. Anthony John Sowell sat hunched over his cluttered desk on Imperial Avenue, the dim light casting long, eerie shadows across his weathered face. The room was a labyrinth of old books, dusty tomes, and cryptic notes, each page a testament to his obsession with the supernatural. Outside, the city of Cleveland buzzed with life, yet within these walls, a different kind of energy thrummed, a palpable undercurrent of darkness. It was a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead were as thin as the gossamer threads of a spider's web. Sowell's fingers danced across the keyboard, his eyes flickering with a wild intensity as he delved into the depths of his latest creation, a tale of a ghostly apparition that haunted the old house at the end of the street. The air was thick with anticipation, the scent of aged parchment mingling with the faint hint of something far more sinister. Little did he know, as he typed away, the story he was weaving was about to intertwine with his own destiny in ways he could never have imagined. Anthony John Sowell stood on the precipice of history as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over Imperial Avenue, a street where the ordinary blended seamlessly with the extraordinary. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and the distant hum of life as the neighborhood slumbered beneath a shroud of shadows. It was in this place, where the mundane met the macabre, that Sowell's life had intertwined with the enigmatic, his name whispered in hushed tones by those who dared to venture beyond the veil of normalcy. As the city lights flickered to life, Sowell's eyes gleamed with a mixture of fear and excitement, for he was about to uncover a truth that would shatter the very foundations of his existence. Little did he know, the journey that awaited him would lead him down a path littered with secrets, deceit, and the dark underbelly of human nature, where even the most innocent of souls could be corrupted by the allure of the unknown. In the heart of Cleveland, a city once pulsing with the vibrancy of steel and dreams, there lay a shadowy enigma wrapped in the eerie silence of Imperial Avenue. Anthony John Sowell, a reclusive figure whose name echoed like a haunting whisper through the neighborhood, had built a reputation that was as mysterious as it was macabre. The dilapidated house at 1113 Imperial Avenue stood like a sentinel guarding dark secrets, its peeling paint and broken windows whispering tales of sorrow and solitude. It was here, in the depths of this abandoned sanctuary, that the line between life and death blurred, and the ordinary became a canvas for the grotesque. As twilight descended upon the city, casting a melancholic glow over the decaying streets, the air was thick with the scent of decay, and the faint echo of footsteps that seemed to follow those who dared to tread too close. The residents of Imperial Avenue spoke of strange occurrences, of a man who was never seen but whose presence was as tangible as the cold, concrete sidewalks. It was a place where the past clung tenaciously to the present, and the future was a specter that danced in the flickering streetlights, promising answers that were as elusive as the truth itself. In the heart of Cleveland, where the sun dipped below the horizon like a heavy stone into the silvery embrace of Lake Erie, there stood a dilapidated house on Imperial Avenue, a place known to the locals as the Anthony John Sowell residence. The house, a grand yet forlorn structure, had seen better days, its once proud facade now marred by peeling paint and broken windows. The air around it was thick with the scent of decay, a constant reminder of the tragic events that had unfolded within its walls. At night, the house was shrouded in darkness, save for the occasional flicker of candlelight that pierced through the darkness, casting eerie shadows on the overgrown hedges that surrounded it. It was here, in this eerie abode, that the reclusive artist Anthony John Sowell had taken refuge, his creativity feeding on the seclusion and the whispers of the past that seemed to linger in the air. But as the years waned, the house itself became a silent witness to Sowell's descent into madness, a place where the line between art and atrocity blurred into an indistinguishable mess of shadows and secrets. It was a place where the living and the dead seemed to dance together in a macabre waltz, and where the truth was as elusive as the ghostly figures that occasionally flitted through the moonlit windows. Yet, for those who dared to venture close, there was an irresistible pull, a siren's call that promised a glimpse into the depths of human depravity and the boundless potential of the creative mind. In the heart of Cleveland's decaying industrial landscape, where the echoes of the city's golden era seemed to have been swallowed by the relentless march of time, Anthony John Sowell's life was a tapestry woven from threads of solitude and shadows. It was on a desolate stretch of Imperial Avenue, a street that had seen better days, where the towering factories that once echoed with the clatter of progress had been replaced by silent, boarded-up shells, that Sowell's existence became a haunting presence. The sun, a weary traveler that had seen too much of the world, dipped low in the sky, casting an eerie glow on the peeling paint and cracked sidewalks. Here, in this desolate expanse, Sowell's modest bungalow, a relic of a bygone era, stood like a sentinel, its windows darkened by years of neglect and the secrets it harbored. As the twilight deepened, The neighborhood transformed into a labyrinth of shadows, and the whispers of the past seemed to rise from the very ground, a testament to the lives that had played out within the walls of this forgotten home. It was here, in this place where the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred, that Anthony John Sowell's story began to unfold, a tale of darkness and light, of the human spirit's resilience, and the eternal pull of the unknown.